Hello everyone and welcome to Beginner's Code, a place for you to learn with me as I dive deeper into the coding world. Before I start, if you haven't yet, please check out my new website for blogs all about Python. You can also look at my posts on Instagram that go into detail about the basics of Python, or if you're looking for source code for some projects, then by all means, check out my GitHub where there are almost 70 projects that you can explore. The links for these will all be in the descriptions below, so please do check them out. Also, don't forget to subscribe to see more videos from me as I teach you through the basics of Python. Today we are going to be looking at Anaconda and Jupyter Notebooks. Anaconda is an open-sourced ecosystem which is a distribution of Python and R used predominantly for data science. Anaconda comes with a large amount of packages pre-installed and ready to use, and an easy way to create new virtual environments for specific projects. Downloading Anaconda also downloads Jupyter Notebooks, which I have found to be an extremely effective way of learning to code. I will be showing insights into how to use Jupyter as well as showing how easy it is to import certain libraries. Okay, so now if we come over to the Anaconda website, the link will be in the description below, and you come to Products. The first thing is Individual Edition. Now if you click on this, it does tell you a little bit more about Anaconda and how it's used. But if you scroll all the way down to here, there are the Anaconda installers. Now there's Windows, Mac and Linux, so download whichever one you are going to be using for. The graphical installer is definitely the one that you want to be using as it is much more user-friendly. So if I click on this, it will then open and download the installer. Now I'm going to skip ahead until this is done, so I will see you in a minute. Okay, so now that is done, if I double click on this to open, it will open the installer. Click continue. Okay, so I actually have Anaconda downloaded and installed onto my Mac, so this should fail for me, but as I click through everything, I will show you what I mean. So I install the software, and as it's going, it will then... Yes, okay, so it's now actually prompted me to use conda update Anaconda 3 to update Anaconda, as I've already got it downloaded. So for you, if you do encounter any issues, then do Google them, as there are a lot of documentation for this. So close, moves to trash. Okay, so now just to make sure that it has downloaded, I will close that. If we come to here, onto terminal, and if I type in Python, you'll see here it says Anaconda, and if we just import NumPy, okay, so there's no issues there, so that has worked as expected. So what we can also do is type in Pip List, and this will show a list of different libraries that has downloaded with Anaconda. These are all accessible. And we can also do conda -- help, and this will show, I'm just going to open this slightly, and this will show a list of different commands that you can use, including the create command, which will create a new conda environment, and also conda install, which will install a list of packages into a specified conda environment. Okay, so now if you come over to your applications or wherever you downloaded Anaconda to, and you open the Anaconda Navigator, this will open the graphic user interface for Anaconda. This is an extremely easy way to see your virtual environments and other applications that have been downloaded using Anaconda. Now, if you click on Environments, this is going to show you the list of different environments that you have created. Now you can easily create a new environment here, and you can choose between Python, R, or even both. Now a virtual environment I'm not going to talk too much about, but you basically can download specific libraries for a specific project. Now this is helpful because you may be doing web development on one, which may need X amount of libraries, including Django, or you may be doing a data science based project on another, and you don't want to download everything to your whole desktop, so this is a perfect way to download libraries to a specific environment. Now if you click on Home, and you can see the applications, Jupyter Notebook is here, and if you click Launch, this will open a terminal which will run a command, as you can see, and then it will open Jupyter Notebooks. Now this does link exactly with your file system, and if you click on to desktop, you can see all the different things there. So what I'm going to do now is create a new notebook that uses Python 3. And now I will just rename this to something that I will remember, and that is then done. So now what we can do is use Jupyter Notebooks as basically Visual Studio Code, or if you were to use the terminal Python shell. So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually just create a list of numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now what I can do is use a for loop to find out if any of these numbers are even. So if you don't know what any of this means that I'm typing, don't be afraid, because I will be covering these within the next couple of videos. So now if I print the num, it will show exactly the list of even numbers which has been created using looping through this list of numbers and then finding the mod. If it's equal to 0, then we will print it. So the next thing I'm going to do is use the math library, and we are going to import math. So one thing to know whether or not it's imported correctly is if you press Shift and Enter, if nothing comes back, if a traceback doesn't show saying import error, then you know that it has imported correctly. So now what I can do is num1 is equal to math dot, and then if I press Shift, it will show all the list of different methods that are accessible here. So the one that we are actually going to use for right now is ceil, and it will take one parameter. So what ceil will do will actually round the number up, regardless of where the number after the decimal place actually is. So if I then print num1, we can see it will return 7. So if I'm able to change this to 6.0001, it will still return 7 because it will round up always. So I can now create a second variable called math.round, and I can math.floor, sorry, and I can call this, I can pass a parameter of 12.9, and then if I put num2, now this is the version of the traceback that you will see. So what it does is it actually shows the little symbol here, I think it's called a caret, which tells you where the error is, and it tells you what the error is, and it gives you a little bit of insight information. So what I actually did here was missed a comma, and now if I shift enter, it shows you the total output for both. Another thing that is extremely useful with Jupyter is that even though a cell contains this code here, it doesn't mean that it's strictly only accessible within that one cell. What this means is if I was to type in print numbers and shift enter, this will actually return the variable that is up here. And this can be used no matter how long your Jupyter Notebook sheet actually is. So the next thing I'm going to do is use the random library. So if we import random, shift enter just to make sure that it imported correctly. The next thing I'm going to do is create a list of numbers, which is just an empty list. We will then create a for loop using the range function. So we will use for I in range, which will take in two parameters, a start and a stop. So we will start at 0 and we will stop at 10. We will then use a new variable called number, and we will assign it a random dot, and if I shift here, it will show you the list of different methods that we can use within the random library, but what we want is randint. So random.randint, and again I'm going to use 0, 10, so this will randomize a number between 0 and 10, and then we will then use the list of nums.append method to append the variable number. So this will create a random number and then add it to the list of nums that has been created above just here. We will then, outside of the for loop, print list of nums, and what we should see in return is 10 different numbers that have all been randomized. So shift enter and you will see 10 numbers here, all randomized. What we can also do is then add this to make this 50, so this will then produce 50 different numbers, and as you will see, there is 50 different numbers here. Okay, so finally I'm going to show you just how useful Jupyter Notebooks can be for data science. So I'm going to click on my GitHub here. I'm just going to copy this little bit of code, and I will then paste it into my Jupyter Notebook. So what we're actually going to do is we're importing pyplot from the library matplotlib, and we are using an alias of PLT. And what this basically means is throughout our code we can reference pyplot just by using PLT. So the first thing we will be doing is plt.style.use, and these are methods of pyplot. The next thing we will do is create a x-axis variable which will take in the different years that will be used within this graph. The next variable will be the electric cars and the amount of them used in the world in millions. So we will start with the 2012 and end with 2019. We will then actually plot the data onto a graph using pyplot, and this will take in some parameters. The first one is the x-axis, which is what we created here. The second is the data, which will be added to the y-axis, which is created here. And then color, which can change. It can be blue, green, red, yellow, pink. You can change it to whatever you like. The marker is O. You can use O underscores speech marks, I think, maybe. I'll show them in a second. And then line width, which the bigger the number is, the darker it is, or the thicker it is. And then a label so that you can easily see. So we will then label our x-axis using plt.xlabel, and we've given it the string year, and then plt.ylabel, and that's given the string electric cars in millions, and then plt.title, which has given the string increase of electric car use worldwide. We will then use plt.grid and set that to true so that we are using a grid in the background to make it more visually appealing. And then plt.legend, which will actually use this label here to create a legend for the graph. And then plt.show just actually shows the graph. So if I shift enter, you can see here this is the graph that has been created. I can even, as I said, change the line width to 1, and that makes it a lot thinner. I can make the color green, and it makes it green. I can change the grid to false, and that makes it just a plain background. And if I wanted to change the marker to, say, an underscore, we can just like that. Now that's all for today's video. I hope you liked how easy Jupyter Notebooks can make things. Please do check it out, even if you don't want to download Anaconda. I'll leave a link in the description below to download it solely from the terminal using Pip and Python. If there are things you're unsure about, please stay tuned, as in my next video I will be talking about step number 1 in learning Python, data types and how to use them. If you liked what we've been through today and you want to learn more, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel to keep up to date. If there's anything you'd like me to cover, then please drop a comment below or reach out to me on Instagram or through my website. Thank you, and see you next time.